Okay, so one of the things that we haven't achieved yet is to put the name of our artist in italics. So if we don't know the HTML tag for something that we're trying to do, there's a couple things that we can do. One, we could go back to our reference source, which in our case is this W3 Schools. And if we search and read through all of this stuff, we would find it. Or if we just search, there's HTML tag list, and then we've got to run through it. Sometimes what ironically is quicker is just to go search for it in Google. I would start with probably HTML5 because you want to make sure that you're doing it, under the best practices, and then just type in italic. And most of the time, the information that you find is good. And if you recognize the source, which just so happens that it is the W3 Schools, is the first one that comes up. And you can see here some examples of text formatting. And we go through far enough here, we see this is bold. Strong and bold are similar. But anyway, what we're looking for is just simply this. And we could actually copy and paste it, but since we need to wrap text in it, that's probably not the quickest way to do it. So back in Dreamweaver, I just put the opening I in front of the name of the band, and then at the end of it, I'll start to do it, but Dreamweaver will finish for me. And then I can preview that, and we should see that everything looks good. So let's work on putting our image in the website next. So under this HTML tutorial, you can see HTML images. The three main types of images are your JPEGs, your GIFs, and your PNGs. And I'm going to make a separate video in which I talk about the differences in these and then also talk about editing images, just real basic stuff in Photoshop. But anyway, read through this. There's the stuff that we'll go over as well as some other interesting things that you can do with images that are listed on this page. So the first assumption would be that you've got an image of yourself that you took with your camera, and I don't mind, a lot of you are art students, if you take a drawing of yourself that you did, as long as it looks like what you look like now, you could scan that, bring it in. So what is a good size to bring it in? In pixels, I would say you want about something that's about 800 pixels tall. So if you're pretty close to that, it'll work. If you've got something that's way bigger, then just follow along with me. Put it in here too big, and then we can always go back and we can edit it, watching the video that deals with Photoshop and such. I have a scan that I did of myself here. It's a screen print that I scanned. So I need to get this into my Dreamweaver file. So first thing that we need to do inside of here is create a folder for our images. Now, we don't necessarily have to do this, but it falls under best practices that, typically a website has a lot of images. And what happens is you'll end up with a folder system here. You'll have a folder for additional pages. You'll have a folder for images, a folder for JavaScript, a folder for CSS, and so on. So what we're going to do is go ahead and create that folder. Now you got to be careful here, or just kind of pay attention to what you're doing. If you're just clicked inside of here, you would think that would be good enough, and then you can right click and add a file or a folder, but you actually have to click right here, kind of wake things up, and then you can put your mouse over the top of that, right click, and then make a new folder. The images folder is what's known as an assets folder, so basically anything other than pages. And typically an assets folder in today's practice starts with an underscore. So it'd be underscore and then the word images. And in keeping with what I said, where we're only going to ever work on files from here, even though this images folder does not contain our image yet, we'll see if Dreamweaver can fix that for us. So if you remember back to the instructions, it says that the website must be 100% hand-coded. The only exception is the image. And I highly suggest actually that when you place images, you let Dreamweaver do it because it does a good job of helping us out here. So all we need to do is put our cursor where we want the image to be. And you can see I was experimenting here and I accidentally have one. So pretend you didn't see this. Okay, so we're going to place our cursor right here after the H3 where it says here's a current image of me. We're going to go up to Insert and we're going to go Image. And then we are, because it's not in our images folder, which would make sense, we're going to actually go out to the desktop in this case, and we're going to find the image. We're going to go Open. Now it's going to say see, this is the good things about Dreamweaver. This file is outside of the folder. Your root folder is, would you like to copy the file there now? Yes, I would. Okay, so it's going to copy that file, and notice that I already took care of saving it properly. If not, I could go ahead and resave it now. In fact, why don't we just do that? Image of, and there's the underscore usage, image of Steve. And then right now it just wants to go inside the site itself, which I could allow that and then just drag it into that folder, or probably to help things out even better, click this little caret here to give me more choices, and then pick my images folder, and then click Save. And then that way everything should be done at once here. Okay, so now if you look over here, we have this images folder, which is now populated with image of Steve. And if we look here at the code that Dreamweaver wrote for us, here's our image tag. Here's where it points to where that image is. And very nicely here, it put in the width of and the height of the image for us. Note here that what it's doing is it's going into the folder. That's what this means. The first thing listed here is the folder name, then a /, then an image name. And we'll see this kind of stuff more and more as we go. And then lastly, we have here what's called alt. And this is something that you definitely want to do. And what this is for is someone who has poor eyesight and is experiencing the web via a reader. When it gets to an image, it's kind of rude to exclude them, so we should at least say what the image is. So you can just simply put image of me, or your name, or whatever you want to do in there. That's just the best practices. So get in the habit of doing that. And then if we refresh here, we should see that there is now an image in here, and we could also preview that in a browser and see the same thing. If your image was really big, like taken with a modern camera, and it's taken up a lot more space down here, don't worry about it right now. It's the last thing on the page, so we can still see everything above it. Just go to that video after you're finished here on making the editing the images in Photoshop, and you'll easily be able to take care of that. That Dreamweaver does that I'm not too happy about is sometimes when you insert an image, it messes up all your indenting here. So since my body is a nested tag under HTML, I do want that to get indented. So I'll hit the tab key, indent that. This H2 should be indented. In fact, yeah, I messed up quite a few things here. So now I'm hitting the delete key to get this back. But anyway, it's a matter of hitting the tab key and or the delete key. So I'll pause this, fix it, and show you. Better, neater, cleaner, and much easier to troubleshoot when everything's indented that reflects the nesting. Our next topic is going to be lists. So here's an example of a list right here. And actually this is an example of a list right here. This would be a non-ordered list. This would be an ordered list. Ordered meaning that it has some type of numerical system to it or alpha system to it. Let's take a look at that in the H3 school site. So under the HTML tutorial, if we go to lists here, talks about how to do them, unordered, ordered lists, and then gives you basically everything that you need to do to put one together. So this is the ultimate example of nesting, and you'll see that you can end up with nesting inside of nesting inside of nesting when you do these specifically. So everything starts with either an unordered list or an ordered list tag, and then your actual items are inside of it. So we'll take care of first the ordered list that we have. So that's going to start with OL, not UL. There we go, ordered list, OL. So let's go ahead and do that. And in the code, we want to be right here after this site serves a couple of purposes. And that's where we're going to put in our OL opening tag. And this we're going to hit a return and put it down here because it helps to see what's going on. And it does make sense to open and close that right away. Then we have the actual items that are going to go inside of here. And these are nested. So I'm going to hit the tab key. And I'm going to go ahead and put LI, and that just stands for list item. And these I can put in line like this. Whoops. And I know there was at least 3 of those, so I'll make 3 of them for now. We can always add some more, but I'm opening and closing these. LI, and then with the help of Photoshop, just a /. And in fact, if we refresh, I think we might even see, yeah, you see you get the numbers already, and then it's just a matter of populating these. And to save a little time, I'm just going to copy and paste these 5 items from here, and I'm not going to worry about the fact that it's not going to work right at first. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to end up with a total of 5 list items. So Command V to paste that in here. And in fact, once it does help to a certain extent to type this stuff out manually, but eventually coders start doing stuff like this, highlighting those 2 list items, Command C for copy, hit return, Command V to paste, and now I have all 5 that I need. Hopefully you're picking up on the fact that I'm not copying the number from the site. When I go to the site, all I'm doing is just copying from here over because that number is made via the code. So Command C, come back in, Command V, paste. You can see we're kind of there. We've got our ordered list. The only problem is it goes 1 through 5 rather than 1, 2, and then 2 sub items under here. So how do we make the little sub items? Well, it's just further nesting. So what I need to do is place these 2 items that I want to appear under this one inside of another ordered list tag. So I go OL, open that up, and then I go to where I want to close it. And even though there's nesting going on, if I start to close this tag, Dreamweaver still realizes that there's an open tag up there. So as soon as I put the /, it closes it. And then to make our life easier again for troubleshooting, let's do what's really happening here visually and just highlight those, hit the tab key, and show that they are indeed nested. And when I refresh, you can see that we get what we want. Now, just a little side note here, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? 1, 2, and then 1, 2. Typically, it's 1, 2, and then A and B or something like that. And that's what CSS is for. We're going to style this. We'll work on this site with CSS, and we'll make that better. But for right now, good. One of the last things to do for this page is to make the navigation. You'll notice that the navigation is simply an unordered list. And the reason that is that's become a very popular practice in web development. You typically don't see the bullet points after the CSS has been applied, but I left them here. And in fact, if you go to this page, you can see here's another unordered list with these little bullet points on it. So let's first, just for practice, make the navigation as just simply an unordered list with no navigation. So I'm right underneath that H1 tag, and instead of putting OL for ordered list, I am going to put in UL for unordered list. And I will go ahead, as always, and do my opening and closing, and then put in at least 1 set of list items. And if I want to, I could just simply copy, Command V, return, Command V, And then you can see we've got those blank there, and all we need to do is put in the text.